Just checking to see if we are live. Good to go? Alrighty. Thank you, Johnny Sue. All right. So, I turn off my notifications and I still get notifications. I don't know how that works. I wanted to do a quick live stream because the Senate decided to table whether or not they're going to give another stimulus check, whether or not they're going to give unemployment benefits for 3 days. The audacity they had to do that, right? For 3 days, they decided that they were going to table this. A lot of people are feeling anxious, uncertain, really scared, and it's understandable because we're at a point where we have really some of the most inept people in history presiding over the lives of millions and millions of people. And we have a pandemic, we have economic crisis, and we have impending climate catastrophe. So for all of you that were fans of the post-apocalyptic sort of literature, all of that's coming true. And it's not an exaggeration to say that. I mean, there are cycles that we go through and people go through different things, right? What we're experiencing right now is a period of turmoil in the United States. This turmoil is bad and it's horrible, but it's also impactful in the sense that it drives people to change, right? So now that Congress has pretty much failed us again, as predicted, what are we going to do, right? Even if in a few days they're like, okay, we're going to extend the unemployment benefits a little bit longer and we're going to give people change, pocket change, people who haven't been paying rent, people who have one form of income right now, which was the $600. And by the way, the people that are getting the $600, it's not everybody, but the people that are getting it, there's a lot of people out there saying, well, why pay more people to stay home than to actually work? Why do we pay Congress so much if they're not doing shit for us? Like, what about the corporations that literally made billions during the pandemic? There are people getting wealthy while the rest of us are getting screwed. Why aren't you angry about that? Just because somebody's going to make a couple of $100 more right now during this time, maybe finally they caught a break. $600 is not a lot of money a week. The reason the federal government pushed for that, some Congress people, some senators pushed for that, is because the unemployment maximum in a lot of places, I think in most places it's like $200, but in places where you can earn more money, it might be up to $400 a week. That's not enough. The $600 is there to supplement. There are a lot of people who make a lot more money than that who are getting screwed right now, even with the $600. So the vast majority of people aren't really benefiting from this at all. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because a lot of people are scared and unsure as to what's going to happen. And I've just seen so much talk about Joe Biden's going to solve all of our problems. And I'm just done with that, you guys, that argument. We are not fighting Joe Biden and Donald Trump. I mean, you think you are. You think you're fighting against Donald Trump. You think you're fighting, if you're a Republican, you think you're fighting against Joe Biden. You're really fighting the system that employs both of them. And the system is working as it should. It is a rigged system meant to work for a very few and to not work for the vast majority of people, and to keep others content so they don't get uncomfortable, so they don't look up. So for too long, we have been ignoring the problems that have led to the moment we're in now. Things didn't just happen when Donald Trump came in office. There's a reason why Donald Trump came into office, and that was because of years of neoliberal neglect, where a lot of people who were in the Midwest or in the South, of white working class, lost jobs due to outsourcing, okay? And the right goes and says, well, blame the immigrants who took your job. Well, guess what? Those immigrants didn't take your job. It was the outsourcing of jobs for slave wages in Asia that took your job. Other countries have gotten their people out of poverty. China is one of them. You may not agree with the methods China has. You might call them authoritarian. But who's to say we aren't authoritarian ourselves with what we're seeing? We're seeing journalists get arrested. We're seeing tear gas, which goes against the Geneva Convention, be used on civilians, toxic chemicals that can lead up to cancer. I experienced what it was like to be in Portland, and even as somebody that was press, the way they treated everybody, us, pointing their guns at them, breaking windows of the vehicle we were in. I've experienced and seen the way police have treated protesters versus the way police have treated, say, those protesting their masks, or white supremacists on Ku Klux Klan members on horses. I have seen the difference in the way police have worked with them. We are at an unprecedented time where all these things are converging, and we are seeing Congress do this. And what I want to ask people to do is to not take it anymore, to realize that in order to really fight this and change the system, you have to tackle the source. You can't just continue tackling little branches of it like Donald Trump or Joe Biden. You have to tackle the source. And if you don't tackle the source, then what's going to keep happening is it's going to keep growing back like bad weeds. It's just going to keep growing back and bad and again and again and again. We need to understand that Joe Biden and Donald Trump work for a system that's an oligarchy. They have no say. You cannot push Joe Biden left because Joe Biden is taking that money. He's taking money from these lobbyists, these big pharma lobbyists, these insurance companies, these oil companies. He's not going to do shit for the climate. He's not going to do crap for anything. In fact, he wants to go to war with China, if anything. Donald Trump, same thing. He's taking that billionaire money. He's another out-of-touch billionaire. He's not going to do the things that people wanted him to do, be an anti-interventionist. That's not who he is. That's how he ran, but that's how he got people on his side, but that's not who he is. We have to tackle the source, and why we're here today and why we have the situation we have is because for too long we've been picking teams. I'm on the left, you're on the right. I'm going to pick blue team, you're going to pick red team, and that's not how this works. That's what they want you to do. They want you to be comfortable. They want you to say, oh my God, I wanted to go back to normal so I can go back and have a beer with my friends. And I totally get that. We all human beings need to be social. We're social creatures. We need to be out there, and it's great. But we can't just simply go back and pretend everything else is okay now. And that's what I'm afraid will happen with Joe Biden. I'm afraid that under a Joe Biden presidency, people will go back to sleep. I don't think a Trump presidency, again, will allow that, but I also don't think it's good for America to have him either. And I think we need to stop thinking that that's even the point. Because no matter who gets into office, no matter who takes over, the same mechanisms will still be in charge. The same corporations, the same military-industrial complex, the same lobbyists, the same big pharma, big insurance companies, the same oligarchy manipulating behind the scenes will still be in charge. And so the reality is, if we don't realize that, we're going to be fighting each other and looking where we shouldn't look instead of looking up at those people who are doing this. The intelligence agencies, the military-industrial complex, the Pentagon. All of these people, the 1%, who have made billions and billions of money off of the suffering of people. People like Jeff Bezos, people like Elon Musk, out-of-touch billionaires. And if we don't take advantage of this moment and seize it, okay, seize the means of production, that doesn't have to be a commie thing to say. All it means is basically saying we're going to seize what we're doing. We're going to be the workers. We're going to be the people, and we're going to take control, regain our power, and demand better. Because at this point, we have no friends in the electorate. We have no power in it as well. And the few friends that we might have are protecting their seats, right? We elected the squad to go and oppose Nancy Pelosi. Are they doing that? No, they're not. And I'm not afraid to say it. They're really not opposing Nancy Pelosi. They're really pretty much falling in line with her. Whether the reasons are because they can't, because she's too powerful and they're afraid of the backlash, okay, or whether they have whatever, just fallen in line for whatever reason, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, it shows you that relying on the electorate is not going to work fast enough, because we don't have enough of us in there, right? And Nancy Pelosi is an all too powerful woman who's made millions of dollars. Why? Not off her salary, but it's because she takes that big pharma and the corporate insurance money. And so the reality is, it doesn't matter who we elect, because the party is there. The mechanisms of corruption are there. They change people. You go in there, it changes you. You don't change it. So what we have to realize is we have to go outside the electorate. That's where we have power now. We're seeing movements across the country, and I've been following the protests, and I can tell you guys, these protests are real, and they're not a monolith. People have completely different tactics as to how they want to target this, right? Some people just want to burn it down. Other people just really want to work on getting things passed, defunding the police and putting the money back into communities, etc. But the best things that I have seen come out of these protests are the organization, right? The demands. Seattle, for instance. Seattle is one of the places that I have seen that best was able to do this, where they had a list of demands and they're pushing for those demands. We have so many great organizers here in California and LA in particular. Why aren't we organizing out in mass protests right now, outside, everybody, demanding an extension of the $600 unemployment benefits till at least March of 2021, demanding Medicare for all, demanding a stop payment on the on the student loans, demanding that we defund the police and reallocate the funds back into the community, pay for this by a tax on the 1% and defunding of the military industrial complex, at the very least cutting a small percentage of it. We need to make these demands, because if you don't demand something, you're not going to get it. They're not just going to give it to you. Nobody's going to come here and save you. And we need to stop with, oh, AOC 2024, oh, so-and-so 2024. They're not going to save you. Having another person there isn't going to save you. It's really not. Because the same people behind the scenes will still be operating. Again, you're not tackling the source. It doesn't matter. Even if we would have had Bernie in there, it would have been very difficult, because we just don't have enough people going after the source of the issues. And we need to come to terms with the fact that a lot of the organizations and intelligence agencies that you may have trusted for a long time have been lying to you. Every single one of them. They have been lying and manipulating people for decades. And that's where the right comes in, and the QAnon, and they take little bits of truthful information and they twist it in their own narrative. If you want to combat QAnon, don't just say it's all fake, because it's not. Say if you want to convince somebody that what they're believing is wrong, understand that, say, okay, well, maybe some of these things that are in there are true, but they're being used for a certain narrative and they're being spun the wrong way. People need to stop with this idea that you can't question any information. That's how a lot of people went into the wrong hands and were pushed to the right, because a lot of the Democrats censor people. They're all about censorship. And what we're seeing now is censorship on our freedom of speech. We're seeing censorship on our civil liberties, and people need to start caring about that. What I mean by that is videos being taken down from YouTubers, people being silenced, media being arrested. That's all done by the right and the Democrats. It's done by both of them. Stop thinking that it's one or the other. They're two sides of the same coin. They're one big aisle. You don't live in a republic. You live in an oligarchy, because those politicians aren't in control. They're beholden to to these corporations that they get their money from. That's it. It's as simple as that. And you can't change the system by taking its money. And I'm quoting Bernie Sanders here, which it's kind of makes me sad because he's pretty much falling in line with Biden. And I've made it very clear that I disagree with him on there. And so the reason I'm here also is to say, you know, I understand everybody's scared and I understand that can be paralyzing, but we really need to go out there and seize this moment. The time is ripe. Just like the civil rights movement was ripe then, people were extremely well organized. And right now, we're not extremely well organized. I'm not seeing people out there in mass droves like I saw a couple months ago. But now the tide has shifted. Now it's not just about defunding the police. Now we're starting to see cancel rent. Okay, we're starting to see people be freaked out about the $600. This is an opportunity to go after the things we need to go after. This is an opportunity to really, really, really come together and have these demands. You can call it a general strike. You can call it a list of demands of whatever. And it has to happen locally. You're not going to have something in such a big country that we are, right? We're not France. We're a vast country with different states. And it's not as easy to organize something at that national level, but it is possible. And I think people just need to start by organizing locally. Whatever happens at the top has happened locally. I see people here fighting within the Democratic Party, even though I don't agree with it. I think it's pointless. They're at least trying to, progressives are trying to really just be a thorn on their side. And I see what they deal with. They deal with gaslighting, corruption, the same things we deal with at the national level. And so what I'm saying is people need to organize into a protest, demanding these things that I'm talking about, demanding an extension of unemployment, demanding a Medicare for all, demanding a defunding of the police. So we incorporate all these movements together. If everybody has their each little movement, it's just not enough. We need to come together and accomplish all of it, because the issue of race is directly tied to economics. If we don't tackle economics with race, it's just going to be symbolic. We can take down all the statues we want, but if people are still going to be poor, and overwhelmingly more poor people are people of color, then we're really not getting really far. And while I'm not for any statues. I don't think people should be elevated at all to any level of just deifying anybody. It's more important to me to see the economic differences, to see people get health care, to see people get out of poverty, rather than the symbolic bullshit that America likes to promote. America loves their symbolism. I mean, this is why we have Me Too marches, rather than fighting for economic equality for women and for the working class, which women are largely a part of. This is why America loves ragging on Donald Trump and Republicans. Like, I could sit here and talk and rant about how much I hate Republicans, but the fact is Republicans are so obviously an enemy in the sense of what they promote. Republicans are, if it's like somebody that's going to kill you, they're going to kill you outright up front. Democrats pretend to be your friend, and they slowly poison you with arsenic until you die. And by the time you realize it, it's too late and you can't save yourself. I'd rather tackle that enemy, because that enemy is not somebody that people are aware of a lot. That's why I go after the Democratic Party. Not because I hate them more than I hate Republicans, because I hate them both, but because more people have been duped by them and are still duped by them, thinking that you can change the Democratic Party. There is no saving that party, you guys. I'm sorry. There is no saving it. You can try to work within it, etc. But at the end of the day, you are playing a rigged game. You are playing by the rules, and you have no shot. There's a reason why Kshama Sawant was able to do the things she did in Seattle, because she's not part of the Democratic Party. She doesn't have to abide to any of their bullshit politics and their bullshit, you have to do this for me and then I'll do this for you bullshit. That's what politics has become, and that's what's pushed so many people away. But that's not what politics should be. Politics should be about getting done what the people want, what constituents want. And if over half of America is ready for Medicare for all, why isn't that approved? They're not listening to their constituents. Obviously, they're listening to the lobbyists and the corporations. And you have to care about that. We're not going to go back to the moments where people were just at brunch. That's what I'm afraid of. That's like literally what I'm afraid of. People are slowly waking up. And in order for people to wake up, they have to be uncomfortable. None of this would have happened if Donald Trump hadn't been in office. And, unfortunately, he's such an easy, or fortunately, he's an easy target. He makes himself really hated. He really says vile things and has fomented a lot of racism that can't be denied. But it is because of that people are fighting too, that people have started seeing, okay, and woken up from the sleep that happened during the Obama years and the years of neoliberalism. And so now that people are awake, we need to make sure we get their attention and say, look at all of this and how this is all connected. Nothing is in individual compartments, guys. It's all connected. The military give weapons to the police. That's why the police are so heavily militarized. There's so much money poured into our military and our police because we need to profit off the prison industrial complex. The more people we send out in jail, the more people make money. Rich people. That's how it happens. This is not by coincidence. This is by design. The system is designed to be this way. Broken for you, working perfectly for the 1%. It is as designed. It is working as it should. And so when people are starting to come out, when these so-called lefty YouTubers are starting to come out and say, oh, I am, it's all about who you're fighting. We can push Biden left. No, you can't. Biden's still taking that money. You can't push him anywhere. His lobbyists can push him wherever they want to. Oh, but it's about who you're fighting. If you're fighting Trump or Biden, you probably want to fight Biden and, then just be angry for 4 years and fight Biden. Do you really think that the vast majority of Americans who aren't educated in politics are going to really be willing to fight Joe Biden when they think that the whole point of this is to eliminate Donald Trump? That's the problem, because if they make you believe that the whole point and everything will be dandy if you eliminate Donald Trump, then yeah, you're going to go back to your old life. You're not going to really be as aware, and all of this momentum will go to crap. And so we can't allow that to happen. I'm not saying I want Donald Trump or Biden. One of them is going to be president. I'm saying it doesn't fucking matter, because at the end of the day, the same people that are in charge are still going to be in charge. The same people. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter. You don't have to vote shame someone for voting for a third party, because at least if they get the 5% majority in a third party, that party has more power now. And at least I don't have to tell people that, hey, I voted for the lesser of evils again. I ate a bowl of shit again. Why? Because, somehow I think that's going to make it better. No, it's not. It's not going to make it better, because the change doesn't start at the top. The change starts at the bottom. And so for people that are trying to tie you into that propaganda of like, well, we have to fight Biden and then no, or Trump and then no, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. You have to go after the source. Time and time again, we have failed to go after the source of the issues, which is why we're here in the first place. And I'm just seeing way too many people that consider themselves on the left, shame people into voting for Joe Biden. Like, I'm sorry, we don't have to vote for Joe Biden. Joe Biden hasn't earned our vote. He hasn't given us a goddamn thing. The DNC refused to give anything. They literally said no on Medicare for all, no on legalization of marijuana, no on the extension of unemployment, no on a lot of these things. That's it. They absolutely denied it all. And we let them. I mean, the fact that you can't even speak out against what is the state of Israel is doing to the Palestinians, to me, is disgusting. The fact that we couldn't cut the Pentagon budget by 10%, that is unacceptable. Why are you telling me to vote for that? Why are you telling me to endorse that? And so the point is, nobody's going to save you. No AOC 2024, no Nina Turner 2024, as great as it would be to have Nina Turner as president. That's not going to happen when we haven't dealt with the mechanisms behind it all. Do you see what I'm saying? And the presidency is only one very, very big national thing. It's not everything else that's underneath it. Congress, people don't care about Congress. The city council, you can make so much change in city council. Like I said, Shama Sawant really showed how you can do that. And so stop thinking that there's going to be this like wonderful thing that's going to make everything better, it's going to change everything, and start understanding that nothing will change until you regain your power. And what I really want to see people and all the great organizers we have here is really taking to the streets and having a list of demands and demanding this. We should be implementing what's going on in Portland, but in every city in our own way for our own cities. And that's what should be happening. We shouldn't be having people just like in fear and like just so scared and like not acting. And that's why I'm talking about this now, because I'm just so sick and tired of people pushing fear on you. Fear is a way that they've controlled people for decades. Fear and entertainment and distraction, right? People want their football games back. They want to go back to the bar. They want their lives back. But guess what? Being uncomfortable is what led people to be able to realize how bad things are. Being unemployed, small businesses suffering. Half of the small businesses in LA aren't coming back. Why didn't they get the help they need? Why aren't we more outraged about that? You know, Donald Trump says something stupid and sexist and people will go out and march, but both parties literally are killing people by not giving them health care. They're bombing people abroad, and they're literally denying benefits for people who are in desperate need. I mean, my friends at Urban Partners LA are giving out food, and people are lining up for 7 hours to get boxes of food because they're not getting any help. In the richest country in the world, how can this happen? Well, because we're the richest country for the richest aristocracy. We're not the richest country for everybody else. So let's stop the lies. Let's stop pretending this is all one big happy country and it's all wonderful and great. There are some good things about America, but that doesn't mean that our government isn't corrupt. It's the same way you can say that you're proud to be Jewish and that you love your Jewish heritage and still say that what's happening in the state of Israel and the fascism employed there and the like violation of human rights against Palestinians isn't okay. There's a separation between the people and what the government is doing. And we need to stand up not only for ourselves and for our families and for our people here in America, but for those abroad. There is no disconnect between our imperialism and what's happening domestically. And for too long, progressives have completely ignored foreign policy, have ignored how we go into every single country and employ the Monroe Doctrine of manifest destiny, of saying we're spreading democracy when we're actually spreading capitalism and control. We want everybody to be subservient to us. We don't want equality. We want to be the superpower. And what's happening now is that we're in a new Cold War with China, and at any given minute, we could start war with China. And if anybody is more likely to do that, you guys, it's Joe Biden more than Donald Trump, because Joe Biden really wants to go into China. And these are things that we need to talk about. Not enough is being talked about. Like during the civil rights movement, people were very organized, and the media helped because the media wasn't bought like they are now. The media talked about Vietnam. They spoke about the war. They spoke about the costs. Now our mainstream media is all entirely corrupt propaganda for the oligarchy. And we all know this, but people outside of our echo chamber don't know this. And that's why we have to keep spreading the message, spreading videos like this, talking and supporting independent media, because this is authoritarianism going into fascism, and it doesn't matter if it's employed by a Democrat or a Republican if it's taking you there. We've gone so far right in this country that right now the Democrats are trying to make love to people like the McCains and the freaking most vile Republicans like George W. Bush, Mr. Iraq War. I mean, we are seeing that not out of coincidence. It's happening because they're one and the same. And when somebody shows you who they are, believe them. They've literally have been denying basic human rights, calling themselves a working people's party, the Democrats. And now we have everybody following in line. Oh, you have to vote for Joe Biden. Guess what? First of all, I live in California. I can vote for whoever the hell I want. Second of all, even if I didn't live in California, I wouldn't vote for Joe Biden because he hasn't earned my vote. And because voting for him isn't going to change a goddamn thing. He said it himself. And because we have our vote as a power. That's one of the only things we have left. We have no power in the electorate. And the only power we have is the voice to demand and the protests and to show the establishment, that we're not just going to fall in line. And that's all we have, you guys, right now. And the way to really gain this power is if every single person is to say, you know what, this isn't okay. It may not affect me directly, but I'm going to stand in solidarity with my neighbors, with my friends who are suffering right now. And this isn't a joke, you know. I want to make people uncomfortable. People need to be shaken into discomfort, because that's the only way they'll wake the fuck up. And I'm just so done with people's bullshit of trying to make this into, you know, once we get rid of Trump, everything will be great. No, it won't. No, it won't. Because we're not learning the lesson that happens over and over again, that until we remove the mechanisms that create people like Trump to be elected, we're not going to change a thing. So I want everybody to really start figuring out, like, what is important to you? What do you want? And go out there and start connecting to organizers and connecting to movements. We were outside of Mayor Eric Garcetti's house yesterday, and people are starting to see that shift. Why? Well, let's see. The police department are the ones that push evictions. They're the ones that go and evict people out of their homes. If they didn't have the money to do that, guess what? It's a lot more difficult for people to get evicted. Okay, so that's where defunding the police comes in. Then, okay, so if we're defunding the police, maybe we can use some of that money to put back into our communities. Okay, great, so we do that on the local level. Okay, then what about the military? Oh, the military is giving weapons to the police. We should probably cut that out too. Okay, great. Why is the military doing that? Oh, let's see, because the military wants control, etc., because they don't want opposition. And so you start going through this and you start realizing how nothing is independent of itself. Everything is connected. Everything we do from the bottom to the top, everything we do domestically to foreign policy wise is connected. And we need to have more of these conversations with people. We need to see that we have to go after the source and stop putting out band-aid solutions that are literally slowly killing us. We don't have time. We don't have the power to wait and do this only by the law. It has to come from masses and masses of people doing that. And we don't have that. I mean, we haven't had that since the civil rights movement, and we need to really bring that back and really do it in a very organized way. And so get out there, go protest, and if you don't have a place to protest, create your own protest. Spread it out. This has to happen, and it will only happen if you demand it. Because if Joe Biden already has your vote and he hasn't worked for it, why the hell would he give you Medicare for all? You already said, hey, I'm voting for you no matter what. So why the hell would he give you Medicare for all? Why the hell would he give you free college? Why would he do anything to try to get your vote if you told him he's going to already have it? And that's the problem with America. We let fear drive us. We let too much of that control our politics. And if we just look at other countries who have simple, basic human rights like healthcare for all, free education, childcare, basic things that we should all have as a people, then we should understand it's really not that crazy. And I just wanted to come and say that. And I understand if people are scared, and I understand if people feel like they just don't know what to do. Well, the thing to do is to really voice how you feel, put it out there, whether it's through a protest, whether it's through writing, whether it's through supporting independent media, through posting something on Facebook, on Twitter, whatever you do. Start standing up for your rights, because our rights are being infringed. And it's not by wearing a mask that our rights are being infringed. It's bigger than that. It is by invading our privacy. It is by arresting journalists. It is by sending feds to deal with local or state issues. It is by infringing on our freedom of speech and our ability to speak freely. It is by just really making us really disabled into being able to act. And that's how we're being infringed upon. And so I want everybody to take a look and really, really try to understand that whether you vote for Donald Trump or Joe Biden or you don't vote for either of them, the work is from the bottom up. The work is outside. And we have the power right now. We have millions of people who are realizing and who are hurting. And we need to use that and come together and go after the things we really want. And that's the only way we're going to achieve things. We're not going to achieve things by telling people to vote for a puppet. That's just not going to happen. So, all right, guys, thanks for watching. As always, if you haven't subscribed to the Convo Couch, please do so and subscribe there. And we're also on Periscope, Instagram, and yeah, Facebook. So I will see you guys